How to set realistic motion blur strength in digital art. Are you curious about how to create realistic motion blur in your digital art? Let's break down the steps to achieve that perfect balance between movement and clarity. First, it's essential to understand the direction and speed of the motion you want to depict. The blur should match the angle and intensity of the movement to convincingly simulate action. Start by identifying the moving object or area in your artwork. Determine the direction and speed of the motion. This will guide how you create the blur streaks. For example, if a character is running, the blur should extend in the direction of their movement. Next, you can use your digital art software's motion blur filter or manually paint blur strokes. If you opt for a filter, adjust the blur distance or strength slider. Lower values will create a subtle effect, while higher values will produce a more dramatic blur. It's all about finding that sweet spot where the blur enhances the image without overpowering it. As you adjust the blur strength, remember to balance it. Realistic motion blur varies across the object. For instance, fast-moving parts should have a stronger blur, while slower areas or edges should appear softer. This variation adds to the realism of your artwork. Refining the effect is also crucial. You can mask or erase parts of the blur that might be too intense. This helps preserve clarity in focal points, keeping the viewer's attention where it matters most. Selective control is key to maintaining visual interest. Consider layering the blur effect early in your workflow. This allows you to integrate it smoothly with lighting and composition. When motion blur feels like a natural part of the scene, it enhances the overall impact of your artwork. If you choose to paint the blur manually, experiment with brush opacity and softness. Using softer brushes and lower opacity can help create gradual transitions that mimic real-world motion blur. This technique can add a more organic feel to your art. In practical terms, the strength of motion blur depends on the context of your illustration. Fast actions like running or flying requiring a stronger blur, while subtle movements, such as fabric fluttering, need a lighter touch. Adjusting the strength relative to the speed and scale of motion is essential for believability. By thoughtfully controlling the blur's angle, distance, and opacity, you can create motion blur effects that add energy and dynamism to your digital art. This approach allows you to maintain clarity and focus in key areas, resulting in a visually engaging piece.